IMDb.com for murder. This is a movie you probably haven't heard of. As I understand, this is a Greek movie. Um, it is very poorly done. It was clearly a very low budget affair. The entire premise is pretty outdated. It's basically about sort of the fear about the rise of online dating, that everyone you meet when you're, in a chat room is some sort of psychopath out to kill you, or whatever. And that's pretty much the theme of this movie. There's this dude who's super creepy and is going around murdering people on live webcams, and nobody believes that's actually a thing, and it terrifies some people. But there's so much more going on to this. That's the bare plot of this. Is a couple people are a person is in a chat room and gets on the wrong side of the wrong person in this dating chat room, and then he hunts her down. But there's so much more going on here. Let's start with a couple things. Two of the stars of this movie are famous rock stars. One of them is Roger Daltrey of The who is, although he's listed at like third or fourth bill, is only in the first scene of the movie, and that's it. He doesn't show back up. The other one is Huey Lewis of Huey Lewis and the News, who is the primary cop character, who's like an FBI guy who only shows up at the end of the movie. So basically, Roger Daltrey goes away, Huey Lewis shows up, and they never intersect. They never share screen time, or even like tangential screen time. Other than that, I believe the lead character is Klaus Kinski's daughter, who was a very famous actor who was featured in a bunch of really bad foreign B movies, for one, but also in a bunch of Werner Herzog movies, which is what he's most famous for. So yeah, she's the main character who is in a wheelchair, which gives it a bit of a weird kind of Rear Window feel, if only, like they wish, because of some unrelated accident. She is staying in this house with her sister, which is the house of her boyfriend, who's played by Roger Daltrey. It is a super high-tech smart house, like Roger Daltrey, some sort of multimillionaire or something. And it's like, adds this entire element that's totally unnecessary to the plot. Like, you can have an entire different plot about a smart house that goes, that becomes sentient and then hates the owners or whatever. That's like a whole nother movie that's waiting to happen here. So the house talks to her, and it can be controlled by computer stuff, and yeah, it's something. So as stated, basically she suspects Roger Daltrey cheating on her, so she logs into this super popular online dating site and somehow figures out his username and password, and finds evidence that that he's cheating, but it gets unclear. Basically, she goes in and pretends to be him and flirts with somebody in there, and then offends this serial killer guy. And in vengeance, he takes over her username, kicks her out, and makes her watch him stalk and kill the person she was flirting with. But the thing is, the person she was flirting with thought that she was going to be meeting Roger Daltrey's character because of the screen name. But at least it tries to establish that they already knew each other. But when she sees him, she doesn't realize it's not him. It doesn't really make sense, because she then mentions something like this: you don't trust a man without a face, but it seems implied that they already know each other. So how would she not know? Like, there's a little things like that don't make sense in this movie. In any case, she gets killed on live feed, and the hacker guy makes the primary character watch. And she, like, tries to tell the police about this, to hunt this guy down. She reports and it's like, I saw a murder online. He live streamed it, and everyone's like, you sure it wasn't a prank? Like, they've never heard of the idea of, like, a snuff film or something. Like, nobody takes it seriously until, like, the end of the movie, more or less, when they start realizing this might be a thing. So they're not really sure what to do, and, it's obvious that the killer knows who they are and how to find them, and they're just terrified. And there's a lot of bad jumps of logic and this kind of stuff. And the bad guy, whenever he's stalking somebody, wears this massive headset camera thing that actually reminded me of the night vision goggles in Silence of the Lambs, and they make a direct rip-off reference to it. He cuts all the power, and then she goes to fix the circuit breaker, and he's there with his goggles, and he can see and she can't, and it imitates the scene, and it was really kind of lazy, but there's a lot of that. The overall quality of the movie really suffers. Like, there's the idea for a pretty interesting movie here, but part of it of why this movie's so bad is because all the technology is so archaic and the effects are bad. The other part of it is it's just not well crafted from like a cinematography sort of standpoint, or the writing. The thing that stood out first and foremost was the bad effects, because they're trying to show, they're really, like, when they're in the chat room, everything that's typed out is said in some mechanical robot voice, like you're talking to a robot, which clearly if this was, like, 2002 or something, where we're talking more early internet stuff, they don't really know how computers work. And there's a lot of that sort of computer magic that doesn't make sense in this movie that makes it pretty entertaining to watch. That's pretty much the only big saving grace of the movie, is how bad the computer magic stuff is. Same thing with the super smart house and its capabilities of being able to channel lethal doses of electricity through the doors. Yeah, there's stuff like that. The acting is mostly just not good. Roger Daltrey actually has done other acting stuff. I mean, he's the lead in Tommy, and has acted bit roles here and there, and he wasn't that bad, but he's not in the movie very much. And Huey Lewis, I don't know what his acting experience is, but he wasn't distractingly bad, I thought. What's her name? Kinski Spawn was okay, actually. I didn't hate her performance. I don't know what she's done since this, but yeah, it was just overall it was mostly the shots were really repetitive. The pacing wasn't very good, and the dialogue wasn't very good. Even though the acting was okay, it was clearly they were working with stuff on the page that wasn't up to par. I actually would recommend this movie just because of that just computer magic, man. It's just so out of date, humorously, with its technology at this point that it's hilarious to look at. Other than that, it's just a really poorly crafted movie that's just a bad watch. But I sat through it, and it wasn't too horrible. The ending also there's a couple false endings like horror movies love to do. But it's it has kind of a goofy end. There's a lot of things it was trying to rip off and influenced it, but, watch it for the computer magic. .com for murder.
Ooh, you have email.
What do you think, you're a rock star?
Inside the dark world of the internet.
The internet's a strange place.
Too bad you're not watching.
Oh!
Because I'm about to kill your girl. A predator awaits.
Child porn, pedophilia, that shit, right?
Snuff. Contracting a hit.
Put your hands up!
Voodoo and satanic ritual stuff.
2 women alone will become his prey. And so begins a cat and mouse game.
An incision this deep will keep you alive for perhaps 20 minutes. By the 12th minute, you get the urge to shut your eyes. When I come back, I want you alive. The final curtain is always mine.
Oh my god!
The next time you log on,
My friend here says you're afraid of women. Is that true?
remember, if you think you're safe because you're just a screen name, you both die. You're wrong.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Nastasia Kinski, Nicolette Sheridan, Roger Daltrey, Huey Lewis. .com for murder. In cyberspace, no one can hear you scream. A Nico Mastorakis film from Omega Entertainment.
Sometimes I think fuck computers.